Okay, as I predicted, when I used the version without the messed up connection, it worked. All right, so be careful when you're building your connections to follow the steps in the notes, or even in the recordings. Just watch for that one place where you rename it to DS orders. That's what I missed. And I probably could have fixed it by renaming it here. I probably should have tried that first. Everything else was okay. So this got built. Now the other thing I want to mention is many of you are working on your task list for the gas estimate program. These notes are your task list. They are in an order that things pretty much need to be done. You need to create a connection. And then once you've got a connection, you've got one table adapter, then you need to create this grid and the binding set that are underneath. Then you need to create the class and the database and the business class, and then you need to connect it. Now, those of you who are in here, without me trying to explain all the stuff I was doing, this took about 4 minutes. Though I did cheat and highlight this code and copy and paste it. It took about 4 minutes. I'm trying to explain to you because I'm in the intro to iOS class, intermediate iOS class, and sometimes we're doing stuff there. I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know if that's a good idea. So I'm trying to explain it. If you don't quite get it yet, follow along. It'll start after you've done this a few times. It'll start. I hope it starts kicking in. So here's the end result of all of that. I've got a grid, and notice all my data is in there, but this is minimal data, only the data I need to select and order over here. Well, I got a few problems here. First of all, what's this guy over here? And I don't really want to see the order IDs because those numbers don't mean anything. I want to hide them from my user. This column is a little wide. Maybe I want a different format for my date. The column headings are pretty, that one's not bad. This one's goofy. And this column's too small. Now the grid does have built into it the ability, notice just by clicking on the column heading, it's sorting. Cool. So if the user wants to resort my grid, they can. There's no way to put it back now, right? Because before it was order date followed by customer. That may not be exactly there anymore. It doesn't matter. Just want to show you that that can be done, and it can be scrolled and it go all the way down. It doesn't matter if you have thousands of them here, you can scroll through. And it's relatively quick. So I want to make this look better. And then what I want to happen is when I click anywhere in the row, I would expect that Don Edwards' pizza order for 11/26/11 would show up here in the form. All the details. And then if I click on Leroy's, his shows up. If I go back to Brian's, his shows up. That's the ultimate goal here, is to get all that to happen. Not ultimate goal, but that's our next step. Just first of all, make this a little prettier. Then when I click on any one of these, go get the data for the appropriate person and fill it in. That's where we're going next. Questions? This is your task list. It'll help you get to where you need to be. It's a little verbose at times. We already did this. And now I want to customize that grid. There's a lot of things from my experience here that I want to do with that grid. Now the downside is you can't do this. I can't see at design time what's in my grid. It's just this gray box. So a lot of this is experiment. How wide does this column need to be? How wide does that column need to be? How do I change the title? How wide is my box? It's kind of trial and error. There are also things that can happen here. Users can select multiple rows. If the multi-select is on, looks like it's not maybe on right now. I think if I drag, there we go. And then users can't quite figure out how to get rid of it. What does that mean? And then they try to delete stuff here, and there's a lot of things I don't want them to do. This is simply a lookup grid. And so a lot of the stuff I'm sharing with you now, I will explain it to you. It's not hard to understand, but why I'm doing it is experience to keep my user from getting freaked out with this grid and to simplify the process a little bit. So what customization are we going to do? We're going to hide the key field. I don't want that guy showing up. going to adjust the column widths so they're not much bigger than they need to be. Going to put some spacing, change my column headers so they're more human-like, because this is just my field name out of the database. This one I was wise when I built my query. I said as customer and capitalized it right away so that it looks good in the grid. It's only in my program. And then I want to prevent the user from changing the grid's appearance or try to change data. You can try to type in here. I don't want them typing in my grid. You want to change this record, you go over here and change it. So I want to prevent that so that doesn't happen. Because when I leave, that's what happens. It is possible, I've seen some code to intercept this, send it to the business class, say if you like this, let me know. Boy, is that ugly. So we're not going there. Shut up. Now I can't get out. Good thing I got a red square. So that's what we're going to do. Unfortunately, we can't do any of it ahead of time. It's not like I can click on this grid and say, I need you to, you're going to have 3 columns, and I need this column to be this wide. I can't tell the grid that. I have to do it in form load. And we already have a piece of code that says load the grid. Underneath that now, I'm going to keep going on the load process, and I'm going to configure the grid. And I hope this is where I usually do this. Select the 7 properties described in the notes. Yep. In load the grid. That's what I was looking for. Only needs to be done once. So the first thing I'm going to do is set the grid read-only property to true. Grid select.read-only. Now this is one I think I might have been able to do at design time, but why mix it up? Some of it's done in design, others done in code. I don't like that. You can't find it. Read-only equals true. Now the user shouldn't be able to change anything in that grid. We can do a quick test on that. So one problem solved already. I want to make the row headers visible. I think that's these guys. I want to make them go away. I feel like I missed a step. Not yet. Notice this is all related to the grid. Grid select dot row headers visible equals false. What does that do? That little box on the left hand side is gone, so they can't click rows using that box. That's good, don't need it. Allow user to resize rows. Oh man, does this user accidentally does this? And they go, oh my God, phone call, my row's too big. What do I do? Have you tried turning it off and on again? And because they can't quite get it back to the size that they want it, and they get all flustered and think they broke the program, you start the program over again and this grid comes back normal. But I don't want that phone call. So I'm not going to let them resize the grid. Grid select dot allow user to resize rows. Nice name. Allow the user to resize rows. Nope. Again, a quick test just so you can see what this does. I can't get my double-headed arrow. Cannot resize. It will not give me the double-headed arrow. Can still multi-select. That's not good. Allow user to add rows. How would they be able to do that? Whoa. Scroll down to the bottom. I think there's an empty one that they can type in. I don't want that. So that guy's going away. We'll verify that in a minute. Multi-select, there we go. Let's test those two. Can't multi-select, and the add row guy at the bottom is gone. All of this is to prevent phone calls. Then there's one more, and that's the selection mode to full select. So I don't have to click in a particular box. I can click anywhere and it will select the entire row, not just the date. So that's what this last one does. Grid select dot selection mode. Data grid view selection mode. Data grid view selection mode dot full row select. Again, so that we can see the effect. Now my grid's a little more user-friendly. They can't screw this up. They can still resort them. I'm okay with that. There's probably a way to turn that off, but I'm okay with them sorting the grid the way they want to. The remaining customization is done using each of the individual columns. So I want this column to hide. I want this column to have a different header. I want this column to be a little wider. So I have to access the columns. The columns is really just a collection, an array. So we say grid select that column, and then in square brackets the name of the field using these names. We could do 0, 1, 2, but it gets a little confusing. It's much easier to put the field name in here and then change something. So the first thing I want to do is hide my column. So I want to do grid select field name order ID dot visible. You must put the spacing correctly here. So however it appears on the grid is the name that you want to use. Dot visible equals false. It's still there. What we're going to take advantage of later on in code, probably next week, is when I click on Jody's pizza order here, I will be able to ask the grid, hey, what's the order ID number for the currently selected grid? Even though it's not visible, it's still there. So now the user doesn't have to worry about what all those stupid numbers mean and why aren't they in order and all that. We don't care. It's just a number. It's used behind the scenes. If it's just a number used behind the scenes, then don't show it to them. So, okay, what's next? Now I want to change the header text. This one's okay. That one needs a little bit of work. And that was order date dot header text equals ordered date. Capitalize it the way you want it to see it across the top. Believe me, it's going to work. Keep an eye on it for later. I'm not going to run this again. Then finally, what width do we make these columns? Because my date column's a little wide, and my name column, some of those names are getting chopped off. All right, now I think up here somewhere, there it is. Hide the ID, set the customer width to 125, and it doesn't say anything about, oh, there it is. Okay, date. So let's start with the customer width. Grid select dot columns sub customer. That's how you would normally read that. Dot width. And I said what? 180? 100? Forgot. 100 and a quarter. This is where the trial and error comes in. Put it at 100 and a quarter, you run it. Cool, order date. And it looks like George is good. And then I just kind of scroll through, see if anybody's getting chopped off. Sometimes you want them chopped off. That was a long one, but nothing. Sometimes you want them chopped off just because you don't want the grid so wide. This looks pretty good. So that's the width property. And we want the format for that date to be lower there. ISO format. And that's done. You can change the colors of these. So if I wanted the dates to be blue, I could change the color. If I want the font size to be a little bit different for the headers, for the titles, there's all kinds of things. You can completely customize this grid, but it takes a style. So this is a little trickier. And once you've seen a couple of these, then you steal it. If you need to do something else like change color, you go figure it out. Grid select that default style. Default cell style, is that right? Default cell style equals some column style. So the first thing I actually have to do is define a new column style. Equals a new data grid view cells. Aren't you glad I looked all this stuff up? Column, cell style, not column style. So that makes a new one. Now I can manipulate that style. Painful. Like we can change its format, we can change its alignment, we can change its text color, we can change all kinds of stuff. So I got to do that first. Column style dot format. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Same formatting we used before. You want slashes, you got it. You want to put the word in there for the month name, you can put the word in there. I'm just demonstrating that you can change it. We also demonstrated what the default was. Should be okay. The pink squiggle shouldn't affect anything. And that's a search box, not that far yet. MMDD alignment. I want a data grid view content alignment. Phew. Column style dot. And notice all the stuff I can change. Foreground color, font, clone font, back color. So we can mess around with those a little bit. Selection back color, padding, etc. A lot of stuff we can play around with there. But I want to change the alignment equals a data grid view content alignment dot. I want the date aligned to the left and keep it in the middle of the cell. Middle is up and down, left is left and right. And just for grins, column style dot for color equals color dot blue. Now I need to apply this style to a column. So I still have to go to columns. And I want to apply this to the order date column. Dot default. No. Uh-oh. Grid select dot columns square bracket. There we go. Default cell style equals this style that I had to build. There is no easy way to build this and apply it to the cell all at once. You kind of build a style, whatever you want to call it. This is just a variable name. Build a style, change whatever you want, and then apply it. According to my notes, I also want to set the width of that to 85. And the 85 is pixels, so think very, very small dots. Sometimes it takes a 5 or a 10 to make a difference so you can even see it. Blue, formatted, order date. One thing, this must be falling off the form here, so let's adjust that. Aha, there's why. Okay, so now I put it in here, a little bit of border around it. And now the next thing I want to do, if I run this, it'll look a little bit better. This is the right side, but this isn't. Look at all that nonsense there, extra space. So the next thing I want to do is resize the grid. But when I resize it, I want to pull all the rest of these guys over. And so this one I actually do at design time. Because what's very difficult to do is to resize this grid at runtime. That I can do. But then take all these things and pull them over so that they're right next to the grid. So once I've got the grid looking the way I think I want it to look, here's my formula. It's in my notes. I take the size of all of the columns. So that's 125 plus 85. That's 210. And I add 20 for the scroll bar. Reminds me of Raiders of the Lost Ark. This many kopecks plus add 1 for the god of Ra, whatever that was. Okay, so add 20 for the scroll bar. This is for the whole grid. Dot width equals, and you could actually just type 125 plus 85 plus 20. I could actually take these values and plug them in. It doesn't matter. And actually this grid width, I'm not doing it in code, I just said. 210 plus 20 is 230. At design time, I'm changing its width to 230. Test it, make sure the scroll bar still has room. If you don't have enough records for a scroll bar, the scroll bar will disappear and you'll have this little gray band there. That's okay. But now I can scroll, everybody fits, get a nice professional looking grid. And when I click, selects the whole row. Still nothing happens, we still got to write that code. But at least I've got a halfway decent looking grid that seems to be the right size. So then I take all these guys and bring them back. Readjust the size of my form. Awesome. Just noticed in Unit 4, I still have large X here. Why does it say X? We're testing the validation, so I better fix that while I see it. Otherwise, it's going to come back and get me later. So all of that was just to make the grid look good. And I can't tell you, these you can cut and paste. What's going to be invisible? Probably your ID field, but you'll have to put your own ID field in there. How wide is it going to be? I have no idea. You'll have to experiment until it looks right. If you're doing a DVD program, some of those Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban movie names are really long. Make sure they fit. You just have to play with it until it looks the way you want it to look. And you can experiment more, changing more fonts, doing other stuff, whatever you want to do. Experiment until it looks right. Then manually size the grid so that it's the same width as all of your fields combined plus 20. Very common mistake in the DVD program, car maintenance program maybe, is to say I've got to have 3 columns because Volcker had 3 columns. ID, whatever. Not necessarily. You might need 2. Always need 2. One's the hidden ID plus whatever you're using for lookups. Maybe a 3rd, maybe a 4th. Think about that. Questions? One last step. We're doing this during form load. I would like the first cell in the grid selected right away. So when this form pops up, the first item in the grid is already selected and all the details for that guy will fill in too. Otherwise, you've got a grid with nothing selected and empty stuff on the right, which is really bad because then users start typing in those empty places. It's not how we add a record. So I'm going to display them the first, I'm going to give them the first record by default, and then we're going to be done there. Grid select dot, I forget the syntax already, current cell equals the first displayed cell. So current cell, we're going to use this again later. Current cell that lets us pick which cell is selected is equal to the grid select dot first, was it? First displayed cell. One more test. Hopefully the first row is blue. And it is. Another thing I try to do, I'm not always very successful, is pull the bottom of this up so it's not splitting a row. It's just an anal thing for me. So that when I'm looking at grids, I don't have this little excess space down here at the bottom, either make it bigger or smaller so that the grids, the rows fit in there exactly. Yes?
If we have a value that's really long, can we set it to wrap text somehow?
I don't know. That would be a column style. There's a wrap mode. That's where I would go. It's a tri-state condition. Set the wrap mode to true, maybe. Be careful, because now if it needs to, it'll wrap 3-4 rows. And there's no other, either cut it off or it goes till it fills. And if you do the wrap, it'll wrap lots of rows. If there's a limit to how many times it wraps, that's new to me, as is that. That's how I often will try to figure out, is this available to me? Is think about, all right, it's not going to be part of the grid, it's part of a format of a cell. And just press dot and see what's available. My first instinct was wrap, and there it was. What else? Your grid is now ready to use. It's a good place to quit. Let's quit at that. We come back on Tuesday. We're going to add a text box up here so the user can search the grid instead of scroll. Imagine 3,000 campers. Even if they're alphabetized, it's still a pain to scroll that whole way and find who you want. We're going to put a grid, we're going to put a text box up here. The user can type just a couple of letters. And what's magical about this one is as they type, the grid filters. So you type the letter F, and only customer names who have an F in them show up anywhere. FR, FE, FED, then the Freds and the Fredricksons show up, and it filters them. As you type one character at a time, it automatically filters the grid and happens instantaneously. The reason that can happen is we are storing this entire grid's contents in this binding set. It has all of the data. We're going to filter the binding set and say, don't show me everybody, only show me the Freds. And the binding set is in memory, so it immediately does it. You see it instantaneously. And if you back up and take the D and the E out, then it automatically refilters and shows you anybody with an FR. Really slick. Where did I come up with this stuff? User said, can you make it do it? I said, you're not asking me to make it read your mind, so yes, I can make it do it, and I got to go find a way. And this filtering, again, this is, you paid your money for this class. You're getting a lot of technique here. And this is what, if you look at my applications, they all look like this. There's a grid, and then all the details over here, and pick what you want. There might be a menu to let me go off and do something else somewhere. But in general, this is what my applications look like. Go ahead.
You're going to set the GUI up on the right side where they can't add anything unless they click new?
Yes.
Is that where this is going?
Well, they can change. Well, right now, whenever you click on one of these names, this is after we filter it. The next thing is to, okay, now I've clicked on Jody Knight's pizza order for 213. Go get me that. Okay. That'll be Tuesday. Okay, first we got to filter this so we can find Jody very quickly. Then we find Jody's pizza order, and we go get it, and it automatically gets plugged in here.
But as soon as you click it, it'll spit it right into it?
Yes. And remember, this first one, I had it clicked when the form loads.
Oh, right.
And so that order, the very first one, Yves Beaupre's pizza order here for 214 will show up automatically. And yes, they can edit it and change it. No, it wasn't large, it was medium. But then we got to write code to save their changes. Then we've got to write code to say they want, it's not on the list. We want a new pizza order. They click new, we clear all this out. Then they have to save that. But not only have to save it, we have to add it to the grid because now we got a new order. We'll delete records, make it disappear from the grid too. So we got a ways to go yet, but we're going to keep plugging. When we looked at the assignment, part 2 said add a data grid. So if you're working on part 1 that you guys have decided is due next Friday and you're bored and you want to make this form and go along with it and put the grid on and get ready for part 2, go for it. By Tuesday, I will show you how to click and show the details over here. That's always phase 1 for me in the program, is to get all this set up so that I can click here and get the details over here. And what you're doing in part 1 is also adding validation, so that when I leave this field and say, take this new value, put it in the business class, the business class goes, not acceptable. When you change this, it changes what's in the business class. When I say save, I'm basically going to tell the business class, whatever you got right now, the user said, save it. They're not saving what's on the form. We haven't been, right? Even in your gas estimate. We're not saving what's on the form. We're saving what's in the class. The form always reflects what's in the class. When you do your calculations, you do the calculations with what's in the class, not with what's on the form. They should always be in sync, and that's part of what our job will be. And we've already written most of that. Whenever we leave one of these fields, it updates the business class. Even right now, I just updated the business class and said, make the size small. So that's where we're headed. Go rest your brains.